Present. Rector.
Here.
Summers.
Present.
Tinsley. Taylor.
Here.
Woken.
Here.
Harper.
Well, we do have a quorum. All right, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Rector, yes.
Second, Taylor.
Great, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Passes. All right, is there any public participation? I'm not seeing anybody on. It looks like Mr. Tinsley has joined us. Seeing no public participation, we'll close public participation.
Did we do agenda but not minutes, or minutes but not
Oh,
agenda?
I'm sorry, I'm completely dropping it. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes? Sorry.
So moved.
Got a motion? Is there a second? Okay, motion and a second. All in favor of approving the minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We'll actually
Aye.
ask if anybody's opposed. Anybody opposed? Same sign. Minutes are approved. We'll go back. Still not seeing anybody from the public joining us. So I'm going to close public participation. Communications. Does anybody have communications for the board? Or the committee, rather, excuse me. Hearing none, we'll close communications. For new business, we have discussion of the closure of the downtown sheriff's office and jail, and our sheriff is with us. Why don't we start with letting Dustin just talk briefly. If we've got specific questions, we can follow up. Dustin?
Hi, everyone. So I'm not sure what I forgot my 15-page speech at home. Oh, wait, I am home. No. Anyways, I wasn't planning on, I really don't have anything to add that I haven't said in the past.
Okay.
We had that whole debacle with the memo, which I hope I was clear to everybody. The intention was for it to come to you. It wasn't to bypass the facilities committee. So I just wanted to make sure that we were clear on that one. You all know me by now, and probably assumed that wasn't the method I was choosing to do that in. I have been talking quite a bit with Dana. Our issues haven't stopped at the jail or the sheriff's office, just because we weren't able to find the solution we were looking for there. And so I've been working with Dana on some alternatives and stuff. And I know he's been working really hard in the background to try to make sure that you all knew, a cost benefit analysis and things, and kind of knew what we were looking at. If we don't move, if we do move, if we renovate, et cetera. And so I will let him talk mostly about that, but I am more than happy to answer any questions that y'all might have.
Okay, well, sorry to put you on the spot, Dustin. I didn't know if you'd gotten any further communications from any outside counties as far as what costs might be for housing inmates out of county. But I know, as you'd mentioned before, with COVID going on and with all the other things that have happened in the last week or so, I can certainly understand why there wouldn't be any new information there. So.
Well, Steve, we're actually, I've been telling the committee $100, which is, at this point, I think it's probably a little high, $100 a day to house an inmate out of county. The average I've been getting has been about $50 a day from our surrounding counties. But the problem with that is some of those costs include medical costs and some of them don't. There are also, that doesn't factor in the transportation costs and stuff for correctional officers. And I know that Dana has prepared some stuff on that kind of cost wise. Also, if I had to, so I've got, I believe, I'm housing 7 inmates in Piatt County right now. That's not because an overarching, we don't normally house that many there, but we had several arrests over the weekend and nowhere to put them. And so we've had to house out of county at that point. I would expect that rate's going to be about $50 a day per inmate. So the problem is finding enough counties that are willing to take, of course, 6 months from now, they may be in a better spot than they are now. Nobody wants to take somebody who could potentially be sick and infect their whole staff. That's just it. Nobody wants to take inmates who are problem inmates. In fact, the Coles County Sheriff, who I know personally and I knew before I was sheriff, he kind of laughed and said, "Yeah, we don't take any problem inmates, and if you do, I double my rate." And I can't blame them. I really can't, because I see how much trouble that we put up with some of the inmates in our custody. And so that's what we're going to find, I think, is not necessarily how do we pay for this, even though that's probably a big chunk of it, but also where are we going to be able to find room for all of the inmates we need to find room for and still be fiscally responsible and not paying exorbitant amounts and things like that. So I'll leave that there.
I appreciate the information about where that we're housing some inmates out of county now. I wondered, with some of the stuff going on, if you were going to have to absorb more folks, where exactly you'd be able to put them. So that explains that, and it's good to know. Okay, Dana, did you want to add anything? I think your mic is off, Dana.
There we go.
Yeah.
In your packet, I included two documents basically under this discussion. The first one, I don't think anybody on the committee has seen. Back, I just found it in a file not too long ago, but it was a engineering report of the sheriff's office and the downtown jail. It was put together and published 9 years ago today, June 2nd, 2011, by GHR Engineering. They went through the building extensively. Reports there, they give you a nice history about the building. Obviously, it was built, constructed in the late 70s, opened up substantial completion in early 1980. The building has been changed a little bit over the years. 96, when the satellite jail was built, they put in a new master control operating system. That system now is 24 years old, just like the satellite jail. Parts are hard to come by. We've had issues at both locations. Knock on wood. Right now we're doing okay, but we're a heartbeat away from having a major problem with the locking system. We've talked a little bit about the roof. We're spending probably $40,000 a year in trying to make repairs on a 26-year-old roof, which is throwing money after bad, but we got to try and keep the water off of Dustin and his staff and their computers and all the other gear in their building. It's a losing cause, they will tell you. The roof's just in deplorable condition. But what's also bad is the building envelope, the brick, the mortar joints. I've got water seeping in through bad joints around the building, and there's no dollars to make that go away, and you can't do anything unless you have a major repair there. So again, we've got an issue with the roof and the skin. The emergency system, the generator, we had a problem with 2 years ago, and we were able to limp by to get a 40-year-old generator back in decent shape, so we have protection. But it doesn't cover the whole building for Dustin. It doesn't cover the whole jail, and that's a bit of a problem. And then you've got the HVAC system, which is other than a water cooler on top of the roof, is all original. And in order to upgrade that, the staff and the inmates would have to move out. So this report's got a lot of good information in it that I think was worthwhile to read through and look at. Pricing, I wouldn't fix on the pricing because it's 2011 best guess for what back then, and I can tell you that it's 3 or 4 times that cost for HVAC stuff. Roofing material, you're looking at $1 million for the roof. Probably $400,000 or $500,000 to retuck point the entire building, and to re-waterproof it. So, we've talked about it before. The building's got about $9 million, as my other document shows. Almost $10 million of deferred maintenance backlog for all those things that I just rattled off in the report that was done 11 or 9 years ago. So again, good report to read. little scary for Dustin and our troops to take care of it, but we're doing the best we can. Any questions about that particular report or the building? Hearing none, we'll move on. The second document that was placed in there, you've seen before. It's been updated, but basically gives you, there's 4 decision points that we had been talking about. Closing the sheriff's office downtown jail, tearing it down, renting office space and jail space, keep the sheriff's office and the jail in operation. Third one is just build the reef stack study, jail only, rent space for the sheriff, tear down the jail and sheriff's office. And the fourth one is build the entire reef stack study. Under each of those 4 decision points, you'll see that there's some similarities with each of them. Finding inmates, jail rental in other counties, we were figuring on approximately 40 inmates. We did figure, as Dustin said earlier, at $100. We knew that was going to be high, but I'd rather be high than tell you it's more than that. Travel costs has been estimated 40 inmates, about 600 miles a year, times 55 cents. Current reimbursement rates. Officer transport costs about $30 an hour for 400 hours, roughly. Moving sheriff's office expenses could be a one-time move or could be twice, depending upon the decision point. Remodel expenses for sheriff's office. That is, if we rent space someplace, we know that not every place will be perfect, but Dustin's staff and what they do has some unique features that most rental places will not have in it. So you're going to have to invest something in some of those facilities to be able to provide that to he and his staff. When you talk about evidence storage, gun vaults, things along those nature, most people don't have that. So anyway, it's as you look at it, and I apologize, it's hard to put on an 8.5 by 11 sheet and get it out so you can read it. I've kind of mass produced it in a much larger format so my poor eyes can read it, but it's got good information. The various points are, cost different levels, and it just kind of depends upon what the county is able to do in the near future or longer. But I'm going to tell you, staying in the sheriff's office downtown jail for much longer, is not feasible, frankly. I don't know when that one component goes that, is the tipping point for moving out. Can't tell you that. If I did, I'd buy lottery tickets. But any questions on this document?
Well, folks, our options are very limited at this point. Revenue projections show that we're probably not going to have money to do really much of anything that we've discussed, that Dana's discussed in the last couple of minutes. Maybe things will turn up and the projections will not be as ominous as they are. But for the time being, it appears we're going to be in the position where all we can do is hope and pray that the building holds together long enough for us to be able to come up with an alternate proposal or solution. I mean, I'm all ears for anybody else that's on the committee, has any thoughts about things that we could try immediately or should look at. I know one of the things that I was happy about was that, and it certainly was not much of a silver lining, without any additional revenue and with it looking as though it's going to take more time, we will have an opportunity to see if the legislature's bail reforms have a significant impact. We are in the process of seeing new judges in Champaign County. And we need to see what position those judges are going to take in terms of sentencing, and if they'll be able to work with the state's attorney's office to try and minimize as much as possible the number of folks that are going to be incarcerated in Champaign County. Um, I feel like I'm just rattling on there. Does anybody else have anything they want to say with regard to this? Okay, hearing none. Dana, you want to update us on the MedCAD HVAC?
Will do. Included in your packet, I like to get you meeting minutes. Basically, we meet once a week from a construction management standpoint. So the progress, on-site progress, information, RFIs, RFPs, all that basically is out there. Bottom line is we are making great headway with the MedCAD HVAC project. We're about 65% to 70% concluded. They're starting to put back ceiling tiles downstairs. All the equipment is basically here. It's been installed and is up and functioning. Still have alpha controls to be able to come in and put all their control devices in place to monitor and to control temperatures within the building. So a lot of that work will be going on. But we anticipate finishing up the end of this month, unless we run into some unforeseen issue or problem. Um, I would say again, United Mechanical has been a delight to work with. Both MedCAD and our shop concur on that. They're very engaging. They're upfront. They tell you what's going on. So it's been a delight, and that's a bit of a difficult project for a building that's got 24-hour use with the call center. So they've been very responsive and just terrific. So it's nice to find another mechanical company here in town in Champaign that's got those kind of credentials. So I've included some pictures. Always nice to see. If you got any questions about those, I'll be happy to answer. But project's doing really well. MedCAD's extremely happy, so feel good about the overall project.
Anybody have any questions for Dana? Hearing none. How about the courthouse and JDC video security replacement project?
Okay. Good news is at the courthouse that most of the wiring has taken place. We've bored the wire out to the street poles out in the parking lot. All the wiring is in place. Cameras arrived last week, as well as some of the other equipment starting to roll in. Over the next 2 weeks, we'll be putting cameras in the courtrooms before I think the first major court case is going to go on with jurors. I think starts the 15th or the 18th. Goal is to try and get the courtrooms with cameras up. They will not be working, but at least the work in the courtrooms will be done, so we won't run into any issues with judges, juries, or hearings that are taking place. Still have a lot of other work to do around the building, obviously, with the number of cameras that have to be put in place. And then the control room where the lion's share of the equipment will be placed. Still got a lot of work to do. JDC, reminder that we've not been able to start there. We've been given the go-ahead to start this month. So we're trying to pull together a pre-construction meeting with superintendent at JDC, Keith, and our contractor, Johnson Controls. There are some, ground rules that Keith will have to enforce. Obviously, wearing masks, taking temperatures, et cetera, prior to coming into their building because they're COVID free. They want to stay that way. So we'll work very diligently with Keith and his staff. And Johnson Controls to make that happen. But we will get that started later this month. And so we come back for our next meeting in August. We'll actually have finished a few things in JDC, and hopefully are 50 or 60% along the way. Any questions?
Hearing none.
Hearing none, we'll move on. Included in your information, you guys probably don't know this, but until you got this information, but we have to have an elevator company work on our elevators. They're unionized. They are also responsible for assisting with annual inspections and getting permits from the state and fire marshals for elevators. We have 12 elevators and a dumbwaiter that the county owns and operates. I've listed those there for you. And the majority, or at least half of them, are at the courthouse, which you would probably expect. The rest of our buildings have one or two, depending upon which building. For the last, at least while I've been here, 6.5 years, our elevator contractor has been Kone. I've included an expense for 2019. You can see that we paid out $34,000 to Kone for annual service, additional equipment, some travel, and then we pay a third-party inspection plus Kone to inspect, and then we obviously have to pay for the licensing from the state fire marshal. It was time to take a look at that contract and see if we can find a company that would provide the type of service for us that we wanted. Somebody more consistent with their arrival time. We wanted to guarantee if we call to arrive within 24 hours. We obviously prefer if we call in the morning that you get there that same day, particularly as we look at the courthouse and the public elevators, as well as the judicial and the inmate elevators taking us up and down floors there. So we talked to three companies. We talked to Kone, ThyssenKrupp, and Otis, all located here in the state of Illinois. I've included on the third document there pricing information, tried to compare apples to apples, annual costs, full coverage, travel costs, inspections, third-party inspections, and basically, as you roll everything up and put pricing with everything, Otis Elevator out of Peoria, who has a service mechanic located here in Champaign, was our lowest cost at $27,150. Kone was second, very close to the third group, which is ThyssenKrupp. All terrific service oriented groups. I found ThyssenKrupp to be really efficient and very engaging within, talking about the types of services they provide, and they were very thorough in their analysis of our elevators as well as Otis. So we felt really good about all three, and really let it be a price driven. So we've signed up with Otis, and we're looking at a savings of about $5,000-$6,000 for if you do a comparison between 2019 and what we expect for this year. So felt good about the process. Just wanted to inform everyone and give you some idea. One of the things what we do. So, anyway, question.
Dana, this is just listed as an update. This isn't something that we need to bring to the full board at this point, is it?
No, it's under 30,000. It was not a bid item. It required us getting three prices. It's over $5,000. So it's over 30. Yes, it would have.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Just a quick question, only because I'm curious, looking at the breakdown from all of those, the full coverage line does say yes for all of them, but I'm just curious, the center one for ThyssenKrupp says once number 4 is reviewed, which is not something that appeared on the other ones, is
correct. That is correct. Elevator number 4 needed some work, which Kone was responsible for, and they got it done before their service agreement expired May 31st. So ThyssenKrupp would apply number 4, elevator number 4, which is the judicial elevator, to the service agreement. If it did not meet their specs, they would do time and material on that. That would be an additional cost, which would, you know, really make them a lot more expensive than what's listed there.
Cool. Yeah, obviously that's not who you're going with anyway, but I was just curious as to
Yep.
what the deal with number 4 was. Thanks.
I'm kind of curious. I have a question if that's okay.
Absolutely.
What is the deal with the elevator that's been dormant for 5 years?
It's dormant over at Elias. It's an elevator that was not used, so we decided let's not service it. Let's not pay for annual inspection. So we're saving dollars. Elias does not need it or use it, so it's in the old part of the nursing home, which is, it's not been condemned, but it's not open to public or workers because of the high degree of mold within the building.
It's effectively condemned without being condemned.
Yes, and it has to be officially
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
So it's just, you can't just put a sign up.
Thank you, Dana.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Okay, hearing none. Update on security, glass, and screens for countertops at in-county buildings.
Right. So we've gone around basically to 2 buildings for the most part, Bielefeld, old job, sorry, Brookins, and the courthouse. Talked to the department heads, identified what we thought their needs would be, as well as what they thought they were. Talked to 2 glass companies, tried to get a third involved, and we ended up going with Bacon and Van Buskirk here in town on most of our windows. I sent out an email late today. We had an installation, our first installation at the circuit clerk's office. If you could see the photos, we installed 8 different windows in their service windows or collection windows where they do business with the public. It's 3/8 clear glass that was put in. It's tempered. What does that mean? It means it's once the glass is manufactured and the holes are cut, it's put in an oven for all intents and purposes, heated up to a high degree so they temper it, and it gives it more stability. It's also safety glass, so when it does break, it breaks into little pieces. But 3/8 inch thick, it's not going to break if you hit it with your hand. You're going to have to really hit it with something. Um, but it does 2 things. It provides a barrier, a screen for our workers, our staff who work behind there. If a patron comes up and they cough, they sneeze, that's not going to get through to our staff member. But it also gives them a little bit more degree of security. They had none unless their screen was down, and the screen is mesh, so people can still reach through. But this is a solid glass front, so it provides more protection for our staff, and that's basically what we're trying to do in all the offices. Next Tuesday, we've got more glass coming in for the other 3 floors. Probation on the 3rd floor, state's attorney on the 2nd, and public defender on the 1st floor. Offices over here at Brookins, planning and zoning, assessor's office, treasurer's office, and the accounting clerk's office, all where they have counters and do business with the public, are getting glass that will be permanently installed. I did not want to go the route of plexiglass. Um, Plexiglass does prevent and help with coughing, sneezing, etc. Does not provide you with any real security, which a lot of our office areas where our workers are at do not have. There's just a counter in between them and the public. If something happens, this gives them a little bit more protection. So I think everyone is happy with it. Should have everything done and installed, I would say, by the middle of this month at the latest. So folks are happy about that. And several folks wish it was already in, but we've moved as quickly and expeditiously as possible, and still trying to live up to our purchasing standards. And the county auditor has been very helpful through that process as well.
Dana,
Yes.
do you think with the demand on the glass companies with what's happened the last few days that the rest of the project will be delayed? Have they communicated to you? I mean, they have to be tight on manpower and product.
We're you're right. All glass companies, both of them here in town are really stretched thin with what's happened, occurred over the weekend and yesterday. But we're fortunate that we had the glass arrive today for the circuit clerk's office. The remainder of it comes in next Tuesday, so it gives them an opportunity to catch up with the community, and they obviously don't have the glass for everybody to put in, so their sales group is busy. Their installers are out putting in plywood to cover up those massive openings to help protect the business owners. And glass will be ordered, but they will be extremely busy for the next couple of months. But it should not impact, and I've been told this by Bacon and Van Busker, that should not interfere with our process, which is, well in the pipeline.
Great. Any further questions? Right? Does anybody have any other business to bring up at this time?
Yeah, Steve, I want to ask a question if possible. I have a background. I want to ask, has there been any reports of property damage to any county facilities or properties in the recent week?
I have not heard of any anywhere at all, James. So courthouse, very. The group yesterday was out protesting very peacefully, and there were no issues of vandalism of any shape at the courthouse. We've had no issues at any of our other locations. So I've not heard of anything, and I would have thought I might be the second or third person called if something happened. So.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan.
Anybody else? Any other business to bring up at this point?
Couldn't get on, and I'm just back on, so forgive my lateness.
Okay. You're on now, Geraldo. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do not have a presiding officer's report. Our next meeting will not be until August. So, folks, stay safe, and I'll hopefully see your shining faces and little tiny square, rectangular cubes next week. We are adjourned.
Thank you, Steve.
Take care, everyone.